The Board of Trustees of the Lamar Consolidated Independent School District is called to order at 6:30 p.m. This is the board workshop being held on January 19th, 2021. We have a quorum with all members present with the exception of Mr. Hunt. We will review the agenda items from the regular meeting being held on January 21st, 2021. Dr. Randall?
Thank you, Madam President. The first item, we ask that the Board of Trustees approve the memorandum of understanding between the George Foundation, the Henderson Westendorf Foundation, the YMCA of Greater Houston, and Lamar Consolidated Independent School District to provide students and families with hotspots and internet connections.
And
Yes, ma'am.
this is the one I had the question about. On the next page of the term, was it supposed to have started last January or this January? It says 2020, January 12th.
That is an error. It starts this January.
So that should be 2021?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure we weren't in hindsight.
No, I apologize.
Okay.
I have a question. I'd like to thank the three foundations that are going to give the money to Lamar and the district and all the students. How will these savings be realized by the taxpayers?
So these fund sources do come directly from the entities to Lamar CISD to purchase hotspot devices for our families. It would be where then the district is not utilizing any of the general fund to purchase those hotspot devices for those families. It's all from grant finances.
So that's what I thought the answer was, so thank you for that. So we would normally be spending our own money to do this. Would this have come out of the recently passed Prop D?
Well, I'm not sure about the bond on that one, if it would have come out of that. But if this was an idea that Lamar CISD wanted to move forward with, it would come from the general fund for the district.
So it's basically going to be money that stays in the bank as opposed to having spent it on this. Because a lot of people were asking, in fact, the local paper back in the spring were saying, we're not running the buses and the students are not in the buildings. Why is the district not lowering the taxes? That's one letter to the editor I saw, and it's hard to quantify that when you say, well, the buses aren't running, and so we have this much savings, and the buildings aren't being used because you still got to air condition them, and you still got to do all those different things. So this money is going to stay in the bank and be used for something else down the road.
Actually, it may be that they wouldn't get it because we may not be able to have. Well, in fact, I'm pretty sure it would have been a challenge to take in the fund to the total of $866,000 out of the general fund. So we would have to make the determination: do we do that or not? And most of what you've seen earlier has been the expenditures on the laptops themselves and getting those in their hands. We did some partnerships to try to get hotspots to students, but what this does, it just accelerates that. And so, and let's see, you were talking about, you're talking about the savings and how come it didn't reduce tax rate. We got to keep.
Well, that's not what I was thinking. That's what I read in the
Okay.
paper. In the Fort Bend Herald's, there was a letter to the editor about that. And I wrote an individual response to that person and saying, it's really hard to realize those savings in a tangible manner, but the district is saving money.
Right.
So this is kind of the same way. That we're using foundation money to provide something for the benefit of our families that we're not having to spend general funds out of or bond money out of.
And I concur with your thanking these foundations.
Yeah, this is
because
great.
This is huge for our kids.
Yeah, George Foundation, the Henderson Westendorf Foundation, the YMCA of Greater Houston. It's really good.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda, we ask that the Board of Trustees approve the attached election order and notice for a Board of Trustees election to be held on May 1st, 2021 for the purposes of electing single-member district position 1, 2, 3, and 6 to the Board of Trustees of Lamar Consolidated Independent School District. Can you have some corrections? Thank you, Mr. Welch. There were a couple of things that needed to be changed, and they're changed. Well, the second page, the Fulcher's address was incorrect, and that has been corrected. The next item, we ask the Board of Trustees to authorize the administration to contract with Fort Bend County in a joint election with the City of Rosenberg for election services for the May 1st, 2021 Board of Trustees election. The next item, we ask that the Board of Trustees schedule a special meeting of the Board of Trustees on Tuesday, May 11th, 2021, at 6:30 p.m. to canvass the school trustees elections on May 1st, 2021. The next item, we ask the Board of Trustees to approve the proposed board calendar for 2021.
Okay, I was looking through this too, and so I know we've made some adjustments already. And so for January, for example, we moved the superintendent evaluation to February. Correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, and then the board self-evaluation is either gonna be February or March. And right now, so it says that we're gonna have one, so that should take it off January and May for this board self-evaluation. And then in October, it says board/superintendent team building. I wanted to have some discussion on moving that to possibly June, maybe, with the new superintendent. Probably not gonna wanna wait till October this year type thing, so any thoughts on that?
Well, the only thing, you don't know when our TASB leadership training is, if it's gonna be virtual or if it's gonna be, usually we only meet one day. It's usually the same week. I don't know if it is, I haven't looked at the dates yet.
The same week as,
Our
The board meetings.
So we usually don't have 2 board meetings that week. We usually all meet on that.
well, this would be team building, this wouldn't be a meeting.
So we wouldn't have to do it that week, is what you're saying. We could do it any time in
This is just the
June.
month, this isn't the week.
Okay, so we
Yeah,
don't have
this
to do
is
it the
in
week
June.
of, okay. 'Cause
Yeah,
usually-
none of these specify a week, it would be the.
Okay,
Yeah, so sometime in June, because if it goes according to plan, April, we will know the new superintendent. So then give them a month, him or her to get under their feet, and then, or July possibly, June or July. But I know that we usually kind of take a break in July, so what are y'all thoughts?
June is kind of a quiet month,
Okay.
and I think with the new superintendent and a new school board conglomeration, you'd want to do it where
Pretty
there's
fast.
pretty fast, and where there's not so much other business that you have to tend to. Concentrate just on that group.
Yeah.
So June.
that would just depend upon too, if you got new board members, and you have to have that meeting too, right after the election at some point, and then you'd have to do that. So, yeah, that would,
Yeah.
So June,
Works for me.
all right.
okay.
Okay, so let's plan that take that off the October and move it up to June.
Okay. All right, the next item is that the Board of Trustees ratify the quarterly investment report as submitted for the quarter ending November 30, 2020. The next item, we ask the Board of Trustees to consider approval of budget amendment requests.
I had a question on that one. There she is. So on page 48, so the second page, could you just give a little description about the third item, the classroom instruction, moving to the data processing services, please?
Yes, each year during budget, we estimate what our printing and copying costs are going to be. And typically, we've allocated it based on where these devices are located, you know, by campus and the rooms. So for instance, we would allocate teacher workrooms to function 11, which is instruction. If they're in the library, we would use function 12, which is the instructional media code. We did an analysis, and instead of doing it based on where they are located, we looked at actual usage and decided that we would allocate costs that way. So we just moved money from the functions, the functional categories the funds were budgeted in, into the ones we feel like reflect usage, which is a more appropriate way to allocate the costs.
So the school leadership, what is that?
That's the principal's offices, the administrative offices on the campuses.
Got it. Okay. Thank you. Any other questions?
So basically, we've now got it, all the costs allocated to instruction, administrative leadership, and also general administration. The 53 is all the general administration.
The next item,
Thank you.
the next item, we ask the Board of Trustees to ratify the financial investment reports.
And I had a question to see just if we could, if possible, going forward, if we could add the previous month's page right before this one. I usually get out my old last month's book and go through just to kind of compare the disbursements. Is there a way to add that, a page before that?
So page 50, the report on page 51.
One that looks just like page 50, but last month's.
Oh,
And
okay, so
added
you're
just-
talking about the bill list, the schedule of disbursements?
Yes.
Okay, so page 50.
Just to have a 2-month comparison type of thing. Could we do
Mhm.
something like that?
We can do that.
Okay. That would be helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
The next item, we ask the Board of Trustees to consider approval of the Lamar Consolidated Independent School District Comprehensive Annual Financial Report for the 2019-2020 fiscal year, and you will get a presentation from the auditors on Thursday. The next item, we ask the Board of Trustees to approve the attached resolution proclaiming February 2021 as Black History Month in the Lamar Consolidated Independent School District. The next item, we ask the Board of Trustees to approve the attached resolution proclaiming February 2021 as Career and Technology Education Month in Lamar Consolidated Independent School District. And the next item, we ask the Board of Trustees to approve the attached resolution proclaiming the week of February 1 through 5, 2021 as School Counselor Week in Lamar Consolidated Independent School District. The next item, we ask that the Board of Trustees approve Estes McClure and Associates as additional commissioning for the Alternative Learning Center additions and renovations in the amount of $7,000 and authorize the Board President to execute the agreement. The next item, we ask that the Board of Trustees approve engineered air balance for the additional HVAC test and balance services for the Alternative Learning Center additions and renovations in the amount of $6,620 and authorize the Board President to execute the agreement. The next item, we ask that the Board of Trustees approve change order number 1 in the amount of $1,821,875 to Zamala Construction Company for the construction of the shell space build-out approved in the 2020 bond referendum, approved the transfer of 2017 and 2020 bond funds, and authorized the Board President to to sign the change order.
Kevin, would you mind giving a little, Mr. McKeever?
Sure. In the 2020 bond, one of the projects was to build out the shell space at Randall High School. And so we went in and got a price from Dramala to go ahead and do that. And that was one of the 3 projects that we talked about doing out of the 2020 bond. And so getting this price, we're easily saving $400,000 by letting them do it now. And then they can still do it now, get all the casework in, and have it done by this August when that school is opening. So there's about, I believe it's 18 school classrooms, including some science rooms in there as well.
It's a good savings,
It's a very good
400,000.
savings.
But those spaces would not be used right away, would they just stay dormant, or that's up to the building principal as
If they
see?
stay spaced, then we have a capacity of 1,400 students. And
Okay.
now, by adding these classrooms in now, it brings it up to the capacity of 2,000.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Great, thank you.
The next item, we ask the Board of Trustees, you can say that, Kevin, to approve change order number 1 in the amount of $213,969.13 to Dramala Construction Company for the sanitary sewer repair located near the transportation facility along Avenue I, and authorize the board president to execute the change order.
And I asked Aaron to come up because this is really a maintenance project, but since Dramala is on site with personnel and people that can do this work, we asked for a price from them which came in cheaper than what we could have done through maintenance through one of their subcontractors in maintenance. So that's why we're doing this. And so, and if I remember right, it's right in the neighborhood of about $40,000 savings by going with Dramala.
So what happened with this is, it started a few months ago. The city was doing some routine smoke testing of their sanitation lines. So basically what they do is they start at point A, and then at point B, they cap off known points and then pressure it up with smoke. And then they look for that colored smoke to come out. And it came out right there at our exit point for the transportation center, and it also came out by the trailer stadium. We have a lift station over there. And so what was happening is sanitation line is leaking into the sewer line, the storm drain, and is causing a problem that way. So the city approached us and said we need to take care of that, and so that's where we are.
So that was, they brought that to our attention after we already established this contract, so that's why we have to.
Yes,
have a
ma'am.
change.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, City of Rosenberg.
Yes.
We're all
That's right.
saving money because of it.
Yes.
Thank you.
The next item, we ask the Board of Trustees to approve the design development for Maxine Phelan Elementary School, as presented by VLK Architects, and I think we have a presentation.
Yeah, as y'all know, this is the DD presentation for the Maxine Phelan Elementary School site in the Veranda subdivision. So VLK is here tonight to do this presentation.
Good evening. We're happy to present to you tonight the design development of the Maxine Phelan Elementary School. Tonight here I have partner with VLK, Todd Lean, and project director Rudy Starks. They'll be able to help field any questions at the end of this presentation. So tonight we're just going to go over the design development we've had so far. We'll go over project narrative from the previous designs of this campus at other sites, and then go into some of the specific design elements for this campus, and supplemental information about project schedule and whatnot. We've had several meetings so far on this campus with the LCISD Design Committee to go over specific items for this campus. As many of you know, this campus was, the first of this prototype campus was Carter. and we held a design charrette VOK launch program to help establish the design principles and learning environments for this new campus. And so you've seen this campus layout or floor plan constructed at Carter, Culver, Tameron, and the Fletcher Morgan, which is under construction right now. So this new site will be located in the Veranda subdivision, which is off of Williams Way Boulevard, just north of 59. It's right next to the Del Webb Sweetgrass subdivision. And the site is located off of Great Blue Heron Lane, and we're going to be orienting the building east-west. So off of that Great Blue Heron Lane, we'll have a bus lane that reaches to the back of the site. We'll have a long parent stacking lane for drop-off. This will have a double stacking area and adequate stacking length so we don't have any buildup on the main street. And then a separate exit and entry for staff or visitors for the front of the building. On the north side, basically these are all the pod wings on either side of the building, and the central area is your core area with your library and admin. So off of each side, there's an outdoor play area on either side, and we also have future space for portables if needed. There's also a separate bus loop dedicated for special ed and daycare, and enough stacking length here for 7 to 8 buses for bus drop-off in the back. And all these are, this is just a layout, and I believe you guys have a book as well. And these lay out all the different learning environments established in the charrette that we held with the district in 2015. We'll go into some of the site-specific items for Maxine Phelan. So, like we said, we met with the design committee, with members of LCISD to establish some of the materials and the site items for this campus. And so in this process, we look at the subdivision, we look at the other campuses we've done to try to establish a unique look for this campus that would fit well into the subdivision. So we look at a lot of the materials the subdivision uses. And you can see here, this is the front entry view at the top. We have a red brick with cast stone headers and white fiber cement panel in the front entry, which matches the subdivision. And then you would also see that's from the back view where the bus drop-off is. And so all these materials go along with what's in the subdivision. Additional information about the schedule of this project. We're currently concluded the design development. Upon approval of this design development, we'd be moving into construction documents, which would carry through into March, and then lead into project bidding in into March, up for board approval for construction contract in April, and then we'd be off on our way to project completion in summer of 2022. So with that, if there's any other questions, we'd be happy to answer anything that you guys have.
I have a question.
Yes.
Do you kind of look at the subdivision, or do people, developers from the subdivision, are they part of your development team so that you will make something that
Yes, every site that we use, or that we construct a school at, we include the developer in the discussions. Each subdivision has its own architectural review, and so we've been in contact with the developer. And like I said, we have a LCISD design committee that meets to establish, we look at the materials and see what's best for the district. So there's, it's everybody's approval of both sides.
Okay. So I wondered how that worked, because I know that there have been schools that you think that they're just offshoots of all those, in
Yeah.
some of the neighborhoods.
And some of the subdivisions have stricter architectural guidelines, so they want to see, you know, congruency through all the materials, whereas some just, you know, have, you know, very few requirements, but, you know, only need to have a few things met. So each project's different.
Okay.
I have two easy ones for you.
Yeah.
You said that Carter was the first
Mhm.
of this design. Is this the first time your firm has designed that building? Or is it the first time Lamar's simply built it?
Carter was a unique design for LCISD
LCISD.
as a prototype design.
And I've been in that in Culver, and I haven't been in the others. But is there anything significant besides the aesthetics on the outside that's for
There's, so as we, you know, construct the building and adapt it, you know, there's small changes that happen in the design that we pick up through, you know, as we construct it and see if there's an issue, we might change a few items in the construction of the building, but many of them are very minor. You know, subtle changes in material or tile or floor plan, just small little changes. But for the most part, it's the same design as you would see at Carter.
It's a beautiful school, both of those, and I'm sure this will be too.
Thank you.
This will be what, the fifth of this prototype?
Correct.
Ms. Kaminsky, did you have?
Well, mine was basically that. Were there any changes in the structure or something that you may have found in the last 4 schools that you've changed for this school? And also the input from the teachers and that have worked at these schools.
Yes.
Have
So
y'all had
there-
that conversation with them?
Yes. There's been a couple of reviews, and Rudy might be able to elaborate some on that, but I know there's been discussions where some of the collaboration areas in the core, we've enclosed. So like these areas here between the wings, they used to be open, like in the first versions of the prototype. And then the teachers asked, you know, we really love that space, but can we have it to where we can have it enclosed but still have glass there for transparency? And so we've adapted that. There's also been some mechanical updates for up in this core area, just to make the building more efficient.
Isn't the stacking space for vehicles different as well?
Yeah, this right
That's a
here.
very long one.
Yeah, we try to get, we get input from traffic engineers, and so we've established that these schools, you know, a 1,600 linear foot of stacking is adequate to keep the cars off of the main street. And so we've been pretty successful doing this layout at all the different prototypes. And from my knowledge, it works pretty good so far. One thing we've improved on this site plan is providing more area for buses to stack, because they gave us some feedback in the design committee, you know, having to loop around, and then we provided a better, you know, turning radius right there for buses to loop back around to the bus drop off. So those are some of the minor things that we change as we go on, as we develop each version.
You mentioned the special ed, I think, pickup, drop-off pickup, but you added childcare, that would be their route. Is that a principal decision, or is that the way the traffic is going to be designed?
Are you talking about where that specific drop-off is located right here
Like it's-
on this little loop?
Yes, I thought I heard you say that was special ed and after-school daycare pickup.
Correct.
Is that something that's designated, or is that up to the principal as to where they want them to do it?
I believe it will.
For safety
I
and-
bet it will be up to the principal, but also we've had input from transportation.
Okay,
They were part of the design committee that, you know, analyzed the site plan and gave input.
And they try to minimize mixing as much as possible.
Yeah.
okay, so transportation does have a say-so on this
Oh,
one.
yeah. They're
Okay.
at all those design meetings.
Last question, I'm not sure that this really is relative, but with COVID and some of the, like, water fountains and all that, is that something we need to be thinking about, a little bit more safety health-wise issues that we may be having at the other schools that we need to consider here?
That that's an operational thing that I think they could maybe elaborate a little bit more on.
I will tell you that, well, Chris can answer it, but we've been adding bottle fillers to our projects. And so a lot of the existing construction projects that we have as well is to add at least 1 or 2 bottle fillers so that you have a little bit more cleanliness when you're filling your own bottle.
And the only caution that we have with that is that we hope that COVID is not an ongoing
Right.
something. And so we have to make sure that we're not reacting and building something that in a few years, we're taking it out and doing something else with it. So.
Right, and in the existing projects that we have ongoing, we've gone back and strategically placed some water fountains with bottle fillers. Those are not a new innovative design. They've been around for a while. And one of the things I found is that where you place those, kids really like that, because not only is it handy, but there's also a counter on there that shows them how many water bottles they're saving by doing that. So it also helps teach in terms of our environment.
So that's something that you will, to the new school, just add on to it, because it's a good
Correct.
feature for the kids to.
Correct. We've made it a standard moving forward, and our projects that are underway, we've added it as well.
Okay.
And there's also, you have to be strategic in how you look at it, because sometimes you build in some long-term cost. There's an option where you can choose a type that has a filter, and the filters are very expensive and require changing fairly often. Our water is already clean coming into the building, so we don't choose that option. So we've been strategic in looking at that, but they are being added.
Okay, good, thank you.
All right, quick question, are any of them dual like you have the, I don't know what you call them, the bottle, the filler and the presser, I don't know what you call the old fashioned.
They're dual mode. They have the drinking fountain mode where students can get water at that time, the old fashioned way.
Okay,
Or they can also fill their bottle. It's a piece that extends on the back.
okay, so you can do
of the
both.
fountain. Correct.
Got it, okay, so that's.
There may not be an old-fashioned way with.
Whatever you call it, I just, yeah,
Have you ever seen little
Thank
kids that
you.
don't know how to do it?
The whole mouth, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item, we ask the Board of Trustees to approve the CenterPoint Energy blanket easement for the installation of electric service at the Lamar Consolidated High School sub-varsity field and authorize the Board President to execute the agreement. The next item, we ask the Board of Trustees to approve the purchase of fiber upgrades, components, and installation from Rocket IT in the amount of $255,188.24. The next item, we ask that the Board of Trustees approve purchase of network switches and components from River Red in the amount of $326,005.55. Madam President, those are all of the action items.
So, do we have any?
There are none.
Do we have any questions on any of the information items?
The only thing, Madam President, we will do a presentation on the, at the next board meeting, so that I can figure out what it is. The District Improvement Quarterly Update.
Any other questions? No? We are not going into closed session
No,
this
ma'am.
evening. So if there's no further business, the meeting is adjourned. It is 7:04 PM.